Welcome everyone to another video, and this is part 2. Thank you for all the likes and comments from part 1. So what I'm doing here is going to walk through my 3 potential teams I'm looking at. One is a wild card, 2 are like ones I'm strongly consider that I would like use in like competitive tournament play. The third one I'd use more like to throw people off. So the team 1 is similar to my team 1 in my first video, and I've taken away lessons that I took away from the first 2 tournaments that I did for Tempest. So the team 1 is very similar to my last team 1, except for I replaced Altaria. I replaced Lapras with Altaria. The reason why I did that is that I found there was like limited times where I used Lapras and it was actually effective for me. The fact that it does have access to Surf does make it pretty useful. And there are times where Surf is better than Celio's Body Slam, but I find those times were limited. And I think the threat of being able to run Skarmory and Altaria in the same lineup gives me like another dimension to my lineup. So for example, like common lines that I would run would be like Lantern, Skarmory, Quagsire, especially if I think they're going to lead with Lapras or Celio. Another lineup was for me to run Celio, Skarmory, Quagsire, or Celio, Skarmory, Lantern, especially if I thought they were going to run especially if I thought they were going to run more like an Altaria lead or even a Tropius lead, kind of like me matching up my Celio with Tropius and kind of like outplaying them from a shield perspective. And the fact that I have the threat of running both Skarmory and Altaria will hopefully deter them running Abomasnow or Tropius, kind of like letting those two lines run free. But if I do think that they're going to run it, I can always run the line of like Lantern, Skarmory, Altaria, and giving that kind of like coverage. So there, I want to be able to run multiple lines to kind of give an additional threat for them to like kind of like play mind games in their head, like which Pokemon should I use, and the threat of me using certain Pokemon, especially if I think that they have certain tendencies to run certain lines. And then the second team here is Lantern. Lantern with Charge Beam. I just found that Water Gun Lantern is like good coverage for kind of like those like slightly off mainstream meta Pokemon, like Alolan Graveler, Alolan Golem, Rhyperior, etc., which gives me like a little bit more flexible coverage. It's also the case that Water Gun Lantern beats Legacy Discharge Magneton, while Charge Beam 1 loses. So it's debatable, but I find that against like the mainstream Pokemon, against Celio, against a Water Gun Lantern, against a Lapras, Charge Beam does much better, and as well performs better in like losing matchups against like against Tropius, for example. So then my second Pokemon is Tropius, third Pokemon is Skarmory, and then here I use Wish Cash. And the reason why I find Wish Cash really interesting is that if I feel like the opponent relies heavily on Altaria, then Altaria versus Wish Cash at the end with no shields, Wish Cash actually wins because it has access to Blizzard, and then as well it allows some more like fake out strategies as opposed to Quagsire, which has Earthquake and Stone Edge on mine, which like has minimal fake out strategies. Some people are gonna run, Sludge Bomb, Stone Edge to try to fake it out, but that's still like pretty high energy costs. So with Mud Bomb Blizzard, you can certainly fake it out, and I've seen like really effective gameplay by Scotty and by Dragon Silk on utilizing Wishcash. So that's something that's definitely inspired my gameplay. And then with and then Charizard kind of gives me that like Skarmory, Tropius counters, something that keep it in the back of their mind. And then Steelix gives me like a lot of flexibility against a lot of the meta. If I think they're running Charge Beam Lantern, if I think they're running Skarmory a lot, Altaria a lot, gives me like a really good coverage. And as well, even if they run Celio, there's like kind of smart, intelligent gameplay that can allow me to actually win that matchup. And then my third lineup is kind of like this off meta, throw them off type of play. Abomasnow, you could run Razor Leaf, you could run Powder Snow, for Powder Snow will like really throw off your opponent, especially if they think they're gonna win with Tropius and you have Powder Snow, then obviously you're gonna ruin them. And then Glalie I really like, has access to Ice Shard and Avalanche, so it's definitely gonna be spamming those avalanches, doing a lot of damage. Steelix gives you kind of like this generalist coverage. Skarmory, which I think is one of the best Pokemon in this cup. And then Charizard again, really great coverage, especially against really great coverage against Tropius and Skarmory. And then Lantern. Lantern I think is kind of like my version of Skuntank, where I think it's like beats a lot of flyers, so it beats Charizard, beats Skarmory, also beats a lot of the water Pokemon, so like Celio, like Lapras, and then does really well overall in the meta because of its diverse moveset and move pool. So it's a really interesting Pokemon. So let's move over to the next part of the video where I'm going to compare Team 1 against 3 other teams that I picked from my Twitter posts. So this first team we're looking at is by Down with TTP, good friend of mine, Kevin. And you'll see here he's running Tropius, Lantern, Altaria, Skarmory, Lapras, and then I'm assuming a Legacy Magneton since it's turn lucky. Probably got a pretty good indication that it was. Most of the time when I look at like Magneton, it comes in, I assume that it's Legacy, so I assume it has Discharge, but actually Magnet Bomb is like arguably equally as effective for its use. It definitely deals the higher neutral damage, as well as deals super effective to those like pure or ice, no water types. So really effective. Obviously, Discharge is going to be really effective as well. So the analysis I have here is that it's likely a Legacy Magneton, so I need to take that into consideration. That's something that I probably could confirm in the match. I see that he has double flyers, so I have to be cognizant of using my Tropius here. I see that if I had Water Gun Lantern, like Celio, if it's Water Gun Lantern, I know that Celio can beat Water Gun Lantern with 2 shields. And then Celio wins or ties against Lapras. It beats Lapras. Can win or tie against Altaria depending on how we play our shield game. Same thing with Tropius, and same thing with Skarmory with no shields or better shield play, like faking them out with Body Slam or hitting them with Aurora Beam at the appropriate time. Altaria is only hard countered by Magneton, which what I mean by that is that it's the only Pokemon here that clearly beats Altaria, except for if it has Ice Shard or Frost Breath Lapras. So that's something for me to consider and to factor in when I look at it. Things I need to know after these matches, I need to know that whether or not they have what moves they have on Lapras, more specifically the fast moves, because that's certainly going to change my perspective. So for example, if I think they have an Ice Shard Lapras, then obviously my Altaria is a little bit less effective. If they have a Water Gun Lapras, then my Altaria becomes more effective against his team. And I need to confirm the moveset on Lantern. If it's Water Gun, I feel more comfortable with leading with Celio, and then I would otherwise. But if it's Charge Beam, I need to factor that in and make sure that I bring the appropriate counters in. Or well, his Magneton will cause a lot of issues if I don't bring the appropriate team in. This second team here is by Lisa Leaf, strong supporter of my channel. Thank you for all your support. A top trainer out of New Zealand. So I look at her team. She has Skarmory, Quagsire, Lapras, Minun, Tropius, and Charizard. So I see that my Altaria will be pretty effective against all the Pokemon except for if they have an Ice fast move Lapras. Quagsire does even or does well against all Pokemon except for Tropius. Okay. And then Charging Raptors loses to Minun with 1 shield, but loses to Minun, but wins with 1 shield and loses with 2. So if I can effectively somehow trade off shields with 1 shield, like I don't shield the first one, but I shield the second time, hoping that she doesn't shield she doesn't shield the first Thunderbolt I do because she's gonna have turn priority. I'm gonna have turn priority, so I'm not gonna shield, and then hopefully they'll copy you. That will allow me to win that particular matchup. And then Tropius walls this lineup, and potentially, well, it's two of the Pokemon get walled by Tropius, and potentially three, depending if they have an Ice move Lapras. And then here, because they have Charizard and Skarmory. And then here I need to know is what moves do they have on their Lapras is need to take into consideration. And I assume it's a Blast Burn Charizard as well. Pretty well-rounded team. Kind of tricky to deal with, especially with the Minun. But these are the notes and analysis that I would take into consideration for the team. This third team here is by Pokemon in the 6. Is this trainer from Toronto? And they have Charizard, Abomasnow, Walrein, which is a different pick, Alolan Graveler, Altaria, and Skarmory. So what I note here is that Walrein's quite an uncommon pick. It was rated pretty highly by PvPoke, but not a common Pokemon that people use. And then as well, so I need to know what fast moves and charge moves. So I'd look up what faster charge moves Walrein had. So in this case, it likely has either Waterfall or Frost Breath. Probably Frost Breath, given that it probably doesn't have any other ice users in this lineup. And then for its fast moves, it has Water Pulse, Blizzard, Earthquake, all really interesting moves, especially if I run Lantern. If they have Earthquake, that's something I need to be worried about. So likely a Frost Breath, so I need to worry about that. Lots of Tropius counters here, or close matchups. So for example, Charizard, Altaria, and Skarmory, all wall Tropius, and then as well Alolan Graveler, and then Walrein will have like really good matchups against Tropius. So I need to be cognizant about using Tropius here, especially in the wrong situation. Lantern does well against 3, and then depends with Graveler. So with 0 and 1 shield actually wins. With 2 shields, it doesn't win. So I need to kind of play into that situation and result in where we're each just trading 1 or 0 shields. Altaria loses to 2 outright. Graveler and Walrein, especially if Walrein has Ice Move, which is pretty likely, and then dominates 2 and ties the other 2. So it's kind of a neutral pick here. And then same thing with like Skarmory. Skarmory does potentially well. It does really well against at least Abomasnow, and then does beat Altaria with the right shield play. But really, kind of like off meta pick here with Abomasnow, with Walrein, with Charizard, and Alolan Graveler, but with 2 really common picks with Altaria and Skarmory. So kind of a tricky lineup to deal with, and things I need to factor into consider. Definitely Lantern will do pretty well in this lineup, but I do have to worry about Abomasnow. So that's going to be kind of the wild card pick. And there's a lot of deterrence from using Tropius here, so good protection around the Abomasnow. So something to consider and to factor in. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see everyone in the next video.